tomorrow is the big day where I'm taking my trip around America. And for those who don't know, I'm going from Connecticut to New York City to Chicago, where I'm going to spend a day and a half there, and then I'm going to take the California Zephyr train from Chicago all the way to Emeryville. And then once I'm in Emeryville, I'm going to spend 2 days in Sacramento, and then I'm going to spend a couple of days in Seattle after taking the Coastal Starlight train. And then in Seattle, I'm going to take a plane to Anchorage, Alaska. And then in Anchorage, Alaska, one day I'm gonna be doing a round trip to Adak, the most western city, and I'm also going to be doing a round trip to Barrow, which is the most northern city. And then after that, I will come back to Anchorage, spend a day there, and then I will go to Seattle again, and then I'll be taking the Empire Builder from Seattle all the way to Chicago. And then in Chicago, I'm taking a plane from Chicago to New York City and then coming back home. So, this is going to be a really, really kick-ass, epic trip. Probably, definitely the longest trip I've ever taken in my life. Roughly over 10,000 miles of travel, if I have all of my numbers correct. And what I want to say is that, I'm very, very excited for this, and I've worked extremely hard. And that, 2 years ago, I was in a really rough point in my life, and a lot can change in 2 years because 2 years ago, I got fired from a job that I had for 8 years. I was thinking about suicide and depression, and I remember taking a week off and going to New York City for a week and just bring this chain and do I want just do this? But I'm happy that I didn't make that choice because, I was really just scared about my future, and I was really just like, it's scary to have a new job, it's scary to work at a hospital, and it's also kind of scary if the hospital doesn't work out, then I have no income, and then I can't be able to pay my phone bill, I can't be able to live where I live, I lose everything. But I've ultimately chose to work hard, be in survival mode, and then I've lasted over 2 years at the hospital. I'm still employed there, and it looks like a job that I can have for the rest of my life. And importantly, when I started working at the hospital, I really changed a lot of my behavior. I started to take a lot more accountability for myself. I started to listen to what other people said I need to do to change myself. I remember having counselors sending me a letter saying that, one thing you do is you twist accountability and being a victim together. You need to work on that. I've had people like Mark Rupert, president of 40 Hour Film Project, just give me advice on just how to be a better person when I was going through something. And then also too that, I've chosen just to be a better friend, be more considerate of people, really analyze myself, because I think in this world, sometimes it's so easy to criticize others. It's so easy to just be depressed and sad and never really say, what, sometimes we're causing the problem in the situation. And I'm happy I've learned that about myself, so I'm just more conscientious and more considerate, and ultimately I have a way better and happier life because I know how to kind of keep friends and say, I didn't have a lot of friends before because I used to be very all about me and everything like that. Psychologically, when you're introverted and depressed and you have one look at the world, it's just hard to just say, I need to change some things because I'm not actually an attractive personality because I kind of look at the world and only see my issues and my problems. So, so I've learned to grow up a lot. And then the next thing that I want to say is that, with my trips, I'm still just planning things out because I've been working 80-hour weeks at the hospital for almost since I left from my last trip was a year and a half ago. So almost a year and a half I've been working 80-hour weeks, and I actually my doctor talked to me and said that they want me to stop doing that. And it's also good because I've not really had a lot of time to figure out who I am, figure out the choices in life that I want to make. So, I have to start putting more time into my personal life. Do I really still care about filmmaking? Do I really still care about being financially independent? Do I really still care about traveling, or do I really just care about like grinding 80-hour weeks until I retire? So, there's a lot that I have to think about. And I think that, in these 2 weeks, I really want to explore myself as an artist. I really want to use this time to make some videos, learn DaVinci Resolve, learn some other programs, get really into cell phone cinematography and make that the best that I can. And it's going to be a bit of a handicap because I know that I haven't given myself too much time to kind of work on my skills because I've chosen to be really busy with work, but I'm going to do the best that I can. And then the other thing that I'm going to say is that, I also do food reviews. So definitely Chicago deep dish pizza I'm going to review. I'm also going to try to find a breakfast place in every place I go to kind of review that. And then the other thing that I'm going to say is that, when I go on the trains, I'm going to review the trains and just how it is and stuff like that. What's the Lakeshore Limited like? What's the California Zephyr like? What's the Coastal Starlight like? What's the Empire Builder like? And it's also going to be a bit of a challenge. And I'm also going to review the planes. And it's also going to be a bit of a challenge because sometimes, I know, when I was wrapping up my last video for my trip around America, I know, some people in the Amtrak were like, what are you doing? Why are you recording, the Brooklyn Bridge and all that, please turn off your phone. Thank God he turned it off, just kind of Dick Karen stuff, so hopefully, I'll be able to not be harassed like that. And then also too, I think another concern I have is that making sure everything happens, because this is the first time I ever navigated into airport. I hope there's no flight cancellations, because I know the last trip I did, there was a train cancellation and that kind of messed up my plans, even though I spent an extra 2 days in New Orleans. So I just hope everything goes well. And I think my other concern is that I have $2,400, so that has to last me for 2 weeks. A week and a half. Then I'm gonna get another $1,400, $1,500 from my employer in my next paycheck. And that should cover me for Alaska. And then also, the other thing as well is that I have to take advantage of public transportation. There's whale watching in Seattle that I want to do. And then also in Seattle, I think what they say is the airport's very far from the city. So it's $60. So I have to really just be very conscientious of using public transportation, so that way I don't end up in a situation of over relying on Uber and everything like that. Even though Uber can keep you safe, $60 cab ride's worth taking the train in a place you've never been to before. So I'm gonna just have to work on being safe. And then also I hope I don't lose my bags or whatever. I'm packing light. And the next thing that I want to say is that even though I have some concerns, I'm very proud of myself. And there's a few people that I do want to thank. First of all, I want to thank my parents, Kevin and Charles, and Sandra, my godmother, because they really inspired me to travel, and they've been really cool with me the past couple of years. And I've learned a lot, and they've also had the patience to still be in my life, even though I've been open about being fired from my last job. I also want to thank my counselor that I saw, Dr. Roy, for over 10 years, because even though we had a tough breakup, and even though there's some things that I disagree with about him, he's really inspired me to be a better person and really change my life to be more accountable, and then teaching me that thing about work on being more accountable instead of playing the victim. And even though I've kind of said to him, and that's been a controversy, is sometimes I feel I wish he taught me to stand up for myself a lot more than just respond to everything by super duper hard work. You can't go through life dealing with bullying and being taken advantage of and respond to that by working hard and being a sheep or whatever. I still appreciate his teachings of just being accountable for my life, and that ultimately if there's a bad situation or something bad happens, I have to be accountable for it. Don't listen to people who say you can't learn or whatever. So he really helped me grow up a lot. The next thing that I would say is that I do want to thank personally my friend Mark Rupert, who is the president of the 40 Hour Film Project, because I was going through a rough patch, and that competition has been controversial, and it's had a good impact and a bad impact in my life. And I've had some good experiences and bad experiences with it. This is just me being honest with you guys about it, because I don't want to, what's the word, just sugarcoat anything. But, he helped me learn to be more responsible for my life and how I look at competitions and film competitions. And I'm very happy for that, because, and also, when I was dealing with some things that really hurt me and was frustrating to me, he at least allowed me to email him as many times as I want to, as just to get out all my feelings, because I had some really pent up feelings for a couple of years. But he's kind of been a good leader. He's shown me what a good leader does, is somebody who listens, somebody who has patience. He's also somebody who, to the best of his ability, has been really open-minded and respectful of me. And I also feel that, importantly, and this is very true of the 48 Hour Film Project, the reason why I started traveling around America was because I did the competition. I jumped from city to city, and I would have never ever overcame my travel anxiety if it wasn't for the 40 Hour Film Project. It was the vehicle for me to change myself, and that's definitely true. But also, the other thing they say about the 48 is sometimes it's not them, but it's what you do with it. And then I also want to thank, my friends, Connor Morley, Wesley Ortiz, Joe McGee, Jury Love, and Jonathan Hess, and a few other people that are filmmakers that have treated me with respect, and also just people who've inspired me to really look at my life and become a way better person. I also want to thank my friends Theopolis Knights, James Harris III, and I think that there's this guy Doug that down in Virginia Beach, because I used to go to Virginia Beach a lot. But when I went to the Virginia Beach 40 Hour Film Project, that helped me feel a lot happier. And I also will say that 40 Hour Film Project in general, even though to me it's a controversial competition, it's had good and bad impacts on my life. It inspired me to travel and get out there. And when I was dealing with very severe depression at many points in my life, traveling, meeting new people, the newness, and then also getting away from some people that have hurt me in Connecticut. I mean, other filmmakers. I know I've had agreements and disagreements with the 48 and the Connecticut one, but I've also learned in the Connecticut competition, I've done some things to cause some chaos. I'm being accountable, like my counselor said I should, but just getting away from filmmakers that have hurt me. I remember working in Wallingford and some other areas where I've met some people who've hurt me deeply. When I've done the 48 in Ohio, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Greensboro, Boston, Rhode Island, especially, Virginia Beach, Richmond, and a few other areas, it really just helped me say, I'm stepping away from the people that are hurting me. I have the power to leave. And if people undermine me for traveling or think I'm ridiculous for traveling, I'm not going to let that have any power over me. And then I also want to say that there's a couple of people in the Pittsburgh 40 Hour Film Project. There's PJ, and then there's a few other filmmakers. I don't have the best memory, but they kind of invited me to go down to the Pittsburgh 48 a few years ago to work on their set. And unfortunately didn't work out because there was a bad flood on the train tracks. But I'm happy that the people in Pittsburgh have been really nice to me. And, I definitely did a video about me traveling to Pittsburgh for a vacation a few years ago. And they've also kind of been like a open door or arms wide open thing for me. I want to thank my friend Anna who moved from Vermont to California, and she really inspired me to make the big steps sooner than later in life, so because life happens, and sometimes we get hurt, or sometimes people leave us, or sometimes there's a lot of situations that we're not prepared for, or we're around people or a job or situations that don't make us happy. And she inspired me to just really understand that with my life and how things are going, that I have to make the choices to make the big steps sooner than later. And I also want to thank my biological father, Guy Neff, and then my aunt. I'm sorry, I don't have the best memory. I was going to say that her name is Rose. Aunt Lisa. And then I also want to thank, just my biological uncle and other relatives in my biological family, and then also my biological brother who got in touch with those people, because I wasn't really prepared for that, but I came in a really good point in my life. When I got fired from my old job, I got in touch with my biological family. It was overwhelming, and like I kind of said, one of the issues with my counselor was like he kind of was telling me on the phone that you need to get over it, instead of just helping me kind of deal with all these new things that are happening in my life. But when I got in touch with my biological family 2 years ago, it really gave me a look at my own life and be like, you know what? Do I want to be like, my biological father who went through a lot of hurt growing up, and he managed to kind of, go to the military. He has a good job. He works hard to be stable. Do I want to be like my uncle who, I believe he's a police officer, and he works hard to be stable? My aunt, who's had a hard past, and she works hard to be stable. Do I want to be like those people, or do I want to just be a big ball of chaos? Because I know like I have some relatives who are like that, and personally in my life, I've kind of been mercurial. I've had points where I've been self-destructive, made some really bad choices, done some stupid things, and I've really just dropped in that very, very deeply, getting to know them, because I'm kind of like I found some role models. And I've also found a good ancestry. Like some people served in the military, some people are in healthcare. And I'm also kind of happy because I used to kind of have like a false identity for a long, long time, and I don't have that anymore. And it was helpful for me because I have something realistic and something that's actually something to be proud of. And I also learned some other things that are important, like just have a lot of self-pride and integrity because you come from a good lineage. And that's really helped my life. And I think that in addition to that, I want to thank my brother, because even though I didn't want to get in touch with my biological family because I felt it was going to be too painful and hurtful, he kind of really forced it on me because it was something that he was embracing. So I was just going to share the news. So it really hurt me. It was a lot of chaos. It was a lot of pain, but it ultimately made me a way better person. It made me a stronger person. It made me accept things that I had to accept because, sometimes in life, you don't do well unless you just accept the truth, versus having some delusions. And then the other thing is that I want to thank some YouTubers. There's Fooski, who does food reviews in all over the world, but he's based in Queens. And then there's James Andrews, who's based in Queens. And then I also want to thank, Dem Drops, because he was also one of the first people in Connecticut that made me start getting into food travel videos. And then I also want to thank my friend JB Harvey, who is friends with Dem Drops, because also he kind of inspired me to look at his work. And then I also want to thank Jay Williams. Jay Williams is a YouTuber. He served 10 years in prison in Virginia, and he always talks about stories about his struggles, and he really, really inspired me to look at my life, because when I got fired, when I've gotten suspended a couple times in my old job, when I've made some self-destructive stuff in my life, I really just dealt with consequences that I wasn't prepared for, and sometimes I would get so mad in my head that I would fail to kind of realize that, I'm doing a lot of just chaos. So I need to kind of step back and be like, even though I'm not prepared for these consequences, or I don't like them, or they're over the top, I have to digest repercussions. For example, I remember a few years ago, I got suspended at my job, and one of the things I got suspended for was leaving work early and getting caught. And my old job actually called my dad, and I felt very angry because I'm I'm 28 years old. This feels like a parent-teacher conference that they're calling my dad on me, and I felt very embarrassed. But I kind of learned that while that happened, I could be mad at my job for breaching confidentiality and treating me like a little kid when I'm 28, and they don't do that to anybody else. I still have to kind of say, I did enough bad choices for that to happen. And then also too, when I left, there was some discrimination, there was some lies being told about me, and there were some other things that were, very, very inaccurate. But what I've done is I've looked at the side where I've done wrong, and I've taken my ball and saying, you know what, this is my bad behavior. This is what I need to change, and everything else really doesn't matter because I need to work on changing myself. And that was also one of the controversies I've had with my counselor, because I kind of told him that, it feels like he's always solely focused on my bad behavior instead of the behavior what other people do to me. And there was a lot of just taking advantage and other things like that. But what I've learned is sometimes in life you're better off learning from your bad choices. And now I'm doing a trip around America, and when I look at Jay Williams and I look at his struggle, you know what, his story was that after he committed crimes, he had a bad public defender that was like playing that was kind of using him as leverage to throw under the bus, so he would serve 10 years or get a bigger sentence. But as Jay Williams said, he's not mad at his public defender. He's mad at himself for making the stupid choices to be away from his kid for 10 years. And when he got out, he really turned his life around. The same way, I can be mad at my old job for the lies and discrimination and stereotyping and other things in what led to my termination. But what I've learned is that what I did that was stupid and reckless and self-destructive and listening to inner demons, I focus on that part, and I've used the hospital job that I've had to really start changing my life, rehabilitating myself in the sense of improve my social skills, and I want to go back into counseling when I come back. So, now 2 years later, I've taken a trip to Pittsburgh. I've taken a trip around America from New York City to Chicago to Los Angeles to New Orleans, all the way up to the East Coast. And I've been able to make more friends, be able to go on a couple of dates, have people feel like, what, Byron has his shit together. I've been able to go to AEW shows, and I've also been able to be back to that really respected, badass hard worker that I am versus my old job where I learned the first year or two in that if you worked hard, you get taken advantage of. And I didn't think about suicide and depression for a couple of years. So, things are going very, very well for me. And now I have this really awesome trip tomorrow. So a lot can change in 2 years if you really, really grow yourself and you really change yourself. So, I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy to share with everybody the good news. And I'll just keep working hard, and let's go exploring together.